Today's talk is the Loveward Journey. Because we know, and we say here often, that all is love. That we live and move and have our being in an unconditional field of love. Right? So how comes life is the way it is? Are we all always experiencing nothing but love? Anybody want to claim that? Bill's back there shaking his head. Yeah, I mean, that would be the wheat growing without any wheat growing in it. So I have a very specific definition of love. And I got it, I don't claim that it's mine. I got it from M. Schpok in The Road Less Traveled, because it was the most practical, applicable definition of love I've ever had. Because, like for me, love was, when I was young, it was like that feeling of the boundaries disappearing when you found that new love of your life and you were together, and it was just like, oh. Or the love you have for your children, or as a child being loved, that warm, fuzzy feeling, and it didn't really, that is love. It's a feeling of love. It's part of it. But love is actually more than that for me, and I think for everyone. So, Mr. Pack defines love as the willingness to extend oneself for the spiritual development of oneself or another. That's a really practical definition of love. And when you put it into your life, you start thinking about this, it actually takes some careful consideration, because love doesn't always show up as a warm, fuzzy feeling. Sometimes love shows up as the need to confront somebody who may be headed down a self-destructive path, for instance, or something of that nature. And sometimes that too is love. So when I started thinking about this, and I think about this a lot because sometimes I do things in my life and I go, oops, that wasn't loving. Traffic seems to come up often in that one. Sometimes work situations seem to come up in that one. And I have to review what I'm doing in my head. Is this just like letting go of my desire to be a beneficial, loving presence in the world? And just like, let's hang out and complain for a while? Because that's also fun. Anybody have fun with complaining? No. Really? It's so much easier to complain than to actually have to extend yourself to find what the appropriate response and loving action and activity and thought pattern is, than to sit there and go, yeah, they really did that. You know something? We live in a universe of oneness. There isn't any they. I invite you to do this as you go about your week. Really, seriously try this. Every time you think they, you don't have to think of it as I, because that's a real stretch, and kind of only a few people in the history of mankind has been able to do that consistently, right? But change they to we. Politics. Crime. War. What happens when it's not they and it's we? Starts changing the perspective about how we can be in this world and be love in this world. It's not always easy. For me, I find that it's very difficult to be loving when I don't have peace of mind. When I'm agitated or allow myself to be agitated by the activities of others, we, that really annoy me, or make me feel fearful, or angry, or any of the other unsettling emotions that go along with not having peace of mind. So it's hard for me to be loving when I'm not allowing myself to have the peace of mind. And for me, and I assume that this happens for other people, because I've talked to a lot of people about this, and it seems to happen that way for a lot of people. Most of that stems from a lack of self-love. See, when I see somebody else doing something that I don't consider loving, it's because I know I have that same ability within me, and I am not accepting that ability within me, and therefore I'm not accepting that ability within them. Now, I may not condone or like the activity that they're doing, right? But I do have to realize, and I think each one of us has to realize, that we all have the capacity to do what any human being does, right? And we choose not to, based on our belief structure, based on what we believe is how we think we should be loving in the world, to a degree. Because then there are those times where we turn around and go, oops, I just did that, didn't I? Right? Anybody ever have one of those where you're sitting there yelling at somebody about something that they were doing and realize that you're doing the exact same thing that they're doing that's annoying you? Right? So there's some part of ourselves that we're not loving in the process, because when we truly accept all of who we are, both the good and the light and the darkness that comes with the human experience, the challenge of moving towards a higher level of consciousness, the awareness that we need to bring to our own experience of this life, we get to a place where we can start to love ourselves. Now, the Beyond Limits class just went through this, and I don't know that I have enough of them, but we'll do it anyway. One of the things we teach about self-love in Beyond Limits is what we call rapid pace affirmations. Rapid pace affirmations are a way to change your thinking, because here at New Thought and the New Thought movement, we believe that everything begins with a thought. If you don't change your thinking, you are not going to move out of the thinking that you have into a greater level of awareness, into new thinking, right? Anybody ever have a resentment here?
No.
Right? Yeah. All right. You know what a resentment is? You're replaying an incident that happened long ago in your head over and over and over again, and it's not even the incident that happened anymore. It's your memory of the incident that happened, embellished by all of the fear, anger, distrust, and hatred that you can plow onto it, and that's what you're playing in your head all the time. Now, when you have your resentment and you're playing with it, does that make you feel good?
Sometimes.
That's the wholeness of life. That is the wholeness of life. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it makes me feel like I'm the martyr because they did it to us. Oh, wait a minute. No, they. Right? We did it to us. See, there are always two parts in a resentment. We both participate in it. Right? And when we look at that, we got to start accepting the wholeness of what it is. And then I was reading another part of August's books that just touched on my heart. It says, when we change the question from what they did to us to what they did for us, we have to start looking at where we're growing from whatever the experience is. Not often easy. So we have some things to help you out through that. Please take one, pass the rest of them to the left or to the next person. So the first thing about a rapid pace affirmation is to change your thinking about where you are right now. So when you're in the depths of a resentment or anger, or if there's not enough, share with your partner. Because I didn't print more, sorry. We're going to say them together, so it's okay. You know. So when you're in that depths of running around in a resentment or anger or jealousy or mistrust or fear, part of that is because you're telling yourself that you are not worth love. And one of the things we say around New Thought is first thing you do is change your thinking. And sometimes to break the trend of the thinking that you have to have some tools at hand. One of them that we use is what we call this RPA card. So we're going to say this once in the silence of your mind, just read through them, and then we're going to say them out loud together. Everybody got it? Mm-hmm. Okay, then let's say these together. I am worthy. I am prosperous. I am enough. I am beautiful. I am powerful. I am gifted. I am loved. Yeah. Anybody have a sticking point with one of those? That's the one you need to repeat more often to change your thinking about that. Right? So if you have a problem with any one of these, listen, no, I'm not. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. Yes, you are. You are beautiful. You are gifted. You are loved. Powerful. All of these good things are within you. And when we focus our awareness and our attention on these good things, we have the ability to shift away from all those negative thinking things and to attract into our lives more experiences that actually reflect these good qualities. So this is about self-love. Accepting yourself and knowing that the good is within you. Wherever you are right now, you can always turn to the good within you and to bring about a better experience in life when you can find your way past the difficulties. Doesn't mean that the difficulties aren't the growing point in your life. It just means that you don't have to wallow in them. Maybe you do, and that's okay too. But if you'd like not to, there are ways to start moving out of it. So peace of mind for me starts when I stop beating myself up about the mistakes that I made this morning and 35 years ago. And I move into a place of recognizing that there have been either few hours or a few years since whatever that thing that I was beating myself up for has been passed into history. And I can move into a place of looking at what can I grow from this? How can I become more spiritually aware of who I am from this activity and move into a positive self-assessment? Because without self-love, it's really hard to be forgiving. So the next step on the Loveward Journey is to start forgiving. Now, once again, there have only been a few people that we have recorded in history that have actually been able to forgive everybody, everything. It's a wonderful objective. I was going to say it's very difficult, but then somebody in this crowd would say, up until now. Because that's the one I always throw out there. But without forgiveness, it is hugely difficult to express love and to receive love. Remember, the willingness to extend oneself for the spiritual development of oneself or another. Right? As a definition of love. So, if we want to resolve an issue, if we want to move past an issue, if we want to grow into a greater awareness of what our lives could be, we have to extend ourselves. And part of that extension is to begin to forgive. Not to condone, but to forgive them, because there is no them. We have participated in this, whatever this might be. So, I'm not going to go into the various avenues of forgiveness that there are. There are about 10,000 books out there, videos. I'm sure all of them are online at this point. Courses, all sorts of things you can do to begin the forgiveness process of freeing yourself from the negative energy around whatever incident happened that you need to forgive. I invite you, if you want some more information, catch up with me after the celebration. We've got a couple that we use around here all the time, and I can help you, point you in the right direction. But once we forgive, we can start to let go of the energy that is holding us back from growing into being this expression of love. Right? This is all on the self-love part. And then it moves outward from there. You see, what we do is an inside-out job. If we are not correct on the inside for our own balance, harmony, peace of mind, self-love and awareness, it's very difficult to be, peaceful, balanced, calm, aware, and loving outside of yourself. You can put on a facade, which usually ends up looking like a stone face. I'm going to be loving today. Damn them. Right? But when it really starts to sink into who you are, that you can look outwards and say, wow, not just the people I really want to be around, but the person who seems to be challenged, or the challenging you, or the person who seems to be down and out, or whatever judgment you want to place on that. And you start looking outward, and then it goes from they to we, and we're working together. Right? And you begin to express that love that you can feel. Now, does everybody feel love? Yeah, somewhere. If not right this moment, then there's a memory of it. There's a desire for it. We have an innate desire to feel love. We also have a pretty ingrained desire not to have to work for it. That's why I just want to pour love on me, man. I'm going to be receptive to this. It's cool. I don't have to do anything. Bastards. I'm going to tell you, if you're on the Loveward Journey, you cannot continue to hate and expect to have love in your life. They're diametrically opposed. If you're going to spend your energy and your awareness and your focus on hate, jealousy, and its lesser cousins, fear, that may not be a lesser cousin, that may be granddaddy of them all. But all of the variations that come in the human spectrum of emotions that are about the negative side of life, if you're going to focus your awareness on there, you're not going to have the loving experience you want. I can say that one definitively. You can't be hollering hateful things and expect to receive love. You're going to receive what you're given. Right? I invite you all to think about that in the political spectrum. Because it's real easy to point on that one. They did that. Wait a minute. No, they. We did that. Now, it may not be something you want to choose, and I'm not going down a big rabbit hole of politics and all that, because we don't do that. We don't actually purport any politics here. We talk about spiritual development, which means develop your spirit to be who you want to be and then go out in the world and be who you want to be. Right? I invite you to seriously consider how you can be love in the situation you find yourself in, whether it is socially or communally or nationally or on a global level. Some people's love is so great that it impacts the entire world. People talk about it for centuries. Right? I mean, we are in the time where we are celebrating the birth of the Christ consciousness. It wasn't that the Christ consciousness wasn't around before that. It's just we picked December 25th because it happened to coincide with some other pagan religions to celebrate the birth of the Christ consciousness. So here we are celebrating the awareness of love in its fullest expression that we have been able to document, whether it's myth or real. It matters not. If it's the literal word, that's great. If it's the mythology of humankind, that too is great. Because what it is talking about is the individualization of a love that was so powerful that healing was instant in the presence of that love. And here's the really good news. We all have that consciousness within us. We all have the power to be that healing presence, that instant healing presence, when we embody this idea of the allness of love, the allness of good, the allness of life. And we become that love in the world that actually impacts the whole world. Now that may be a big order for some of us. I know that one scares me a little bit, So it doesn't necessarily have to be the world. And you imagine going through a day in which you are absolutely loving, extending yourself for the spiritual development of yourself and another in every moment of the day, just for one day. I might be able to do one day of that. Right? Would you be willing to do that? And even if you fell down in your day, to try it again the next day. To go through your day with an awakened consciousness saying, here is an opportunity for me to present love into the world. And it takes careful consideration. As I said earlier, love doesn't always show up as a warm, fuzzy hug. Right? But to go through your day with the awareness and the consciousness that this is my intention to be this in the world today. To bring this into the world of expression through my actions, my words, and my thoughts. What a beautiful day that would be. Not only for you, but for everyone you encounter. What a beautiful day that would be. To bring that Christ consciousness into your life and to walk the world as a healing presence because love is flowing through each one of us. Now, I don't say that's going to take away the challenges. Because if there were no challenges, there would be no opportunities. So part of that awareness is to keep your mind open to the opportunities in which you can express love into the world today. Right? And don't let one pass you by. Because that's how more love comes into the world. We get to be it so that we can see it. I see it in all of you. Namaste.
Namaste.